behalf of me and Lane and Jim and Carolyn and Mary Grace and Josh, we want to welcome you to the rehearsal dinner. I'm going to say a brief bit because I tried other versions of talking about my daughter and it didn't go well, so I didn't finish everything. Later on, Hunter will actually kick off the toast, and if anybody has anything to say, you can say it at that time. We appreciate all of you joining us for this weekend. Obviously, through a lot of prayers over the years, and we were fortunate enough to pick up a daughter almost 4.5 years ago. And the prayer that I prayed for both of my children before they were born is for their spouses. So I never knew what Erin looked like. I didn't realize she'd be that pretty. Knowing him, I'm still surprised. But and then even with Josh, you know, so I prayed for them a long time before they were even born. And the main prayer was not what they looked like or whether they were for Ole Miss or Auburn, which they are. But really it's more about their relationship with Christ. And the thing, as Joy pointed out in the rehearsal, the whole purpose of this weekend is to honor Him, and it's a service, and it's a time to worship, and it's a time to have fun and get to know different people. But the greatest joy we can have as parents is to know that both of our children married Christians, and so that's a great joy for us. It's been interesting. Those of you that don't know, Josh has actually been living with us for a little over a year. Thankfully, he moved out this week. Mary Grace actually moved home, which was fun for us because we watched 2 versions of Father of the Bride, which was total torture. But thankfully, we got to spend a lot of time with Josh, and we're thankful to have him in our family, and we love you, and we're happy to go forward with the marriage, I guess, tomorrow. We still have some time on that, but no, it's been great. And of course, he talks a lot about his family, which you'll see seated in the back, which is his church family, and some people that really have taken him in. Of course, nobody more important than his grandmother and his grandfather when he was alive, that were responsible for bringing him to know the Lord. So I want you to have a good time tonight. We're grateful for all you being here. 2 of our friends came up from Tampa, Marilyn and Lynn Poe. They have real names, but that's their other name. But thank you for that. But thank you for all of you being here and taking the time. And I'm going to ask my dad, to Mary Grace's grandfather, to come up and say the prayer.
Thank you, Greg. I can't believe Greg has this many friends. I think part of you, though, is connected to Josh and Mary Grace. So we are happy to see each of you. I hope this will be a wonderful occasion, and you'll enjoy the evening, and we'll see the real show tomorrow night. So let us all pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this privilege tonight to be with friends, most are Christian friends, and we thank you again for Josh and Mary Grace, knowing Jesus as their Savior, and start the family in the way they should, and live together forever. We certainly realize the Bible says the ones to marry is a woman and a man, and that's what our country needs today. Lord, we just thank you that all of you who have parts are appreciated, and know it'll be a gracious, wonderful time tomorrow. Hope that they'll have a safe trip on their honeymoon, and the Lord bless the food to our bodies and us to your service. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Hi, everybody. Just wanted to take a minute and say how happy I am for you guys. And Mr. and Mrs. Smith, thank you for hosting us tonight. I haven't been married long, but I will say that marriage is not something that's easy, but you can make it easier by the way that you continue to spend time with each other, treat each other with respect. You guys are each other's be all end all. You're going to come home mad, but that person is there for you to spend time with and to love no matter what. I just want to say, Josh, I'm proud of you. You know, I've seen you from the time we were, I don't know, 8th or 9th grade. I don't even remember. But you've come a long way. And I'll say you've done very well for yourself. Marrying up, that's what he's doing. Let's just be honest, okay? Josh is marrying up. And Mary Grace, I'm pleased to get to know you. You know, I hope we can all hang out some days. I know Tanner and Tori live closer here, but, you know, I'd love to come up and hang out with you guys. I just want to say how happy I am for you. I pray that you keep God first. There's going to be a lot of nights where you may not be happy with each other, but happiness comes and goes, but joy doesn't. You know, I pray that you keep that together. You know, and that takes both of you. Josh, you're the head of the household. That means you got to be the spiritual leader, and that you guys complement each other that way. So here's to many lifelong years of happiness. I'm sorry, I got to toast the Baptist way.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tim Harris. I'm the father of the Harris boys that are all in the wedding, and just want to tell y'all how happy we are to be here. Josh, as Hunter says, you come a long way. I'm proud of you, buddy. No, I mean that in a positive way. It's been fun to watch you grow and mature, and I'm really proud of you. And I look forward to get to know Mary Grace better, and it's a privilege and an honor to be a part of this, and we thank you very much. And as Hunter says, you know, just keep God first, and we look forward to watching all grow together. Proud of you. Yeah. So.
I said I wasn't going to be nervous. I didn't know there were going to be this many people here, though. What can I say about Mary Grace? I guess I'll just read it. It'd be easier. All right, y'all settle in. Huh? All right. So normally I don't write a speech. I really prefer to wing it and let it flow from the heart. But Mom said that I had to write a speech. So I wrote it. Yeah, she didn't want it to flow from the heart. I'm pretty sure of that. Another reason I don't write them is because it can be scary what I come up with when given a little bit of time and focus. So I'm not saying that Mom made me say the following, but everything hereafter is directly her fault. About 24 years ago, Mary Grace told me that when she got married, she really didn't want me to give a speech at her wedding. But I was the only brother that she had at the time, and unless something changed, she wouldn't have a choice. I realized that she was 5, but it still hurt my feelings. Well, the joke is on you, Mary Grace, because nothing ever changed, and I'm all you got. So this is awkward. I'm, of course, here with my lovely wife, Erin, who I invited as my +1. She also happens, she was chosen from many candidates to be the matron of honor, not to be my +1. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Evan Smith, and I'm today's best brother, or tomorrow's. So I'm excited about that. The truth finally comes out after this many years. I'm slightly nervous because Mary Grace told me that if I do well tonight with this speech, I can be the best brother again at her next wedding. That's her words, not mine. So let me tell you a little bit about my relationship with Mary Grace. We met in the 80s. 1988 specifically, when gas was 91 cents and Guns N' Roses were actually still making some solid hits back then. So when I was 1, my parents gave me a sister. I'd have been perfectly fine with an extra spoonful of food that night, but hey, whatever. She would follow me around everywhere. She wanted to do everything I did, which was probably irresponsible on her part, looking back on it. Mom and Dad could literally get her to eat her squash by making me eat mine. We've taught each other a lot, and we've also learned a lot together along the way. I've also learned quite a bit about her, so Josh, pay attention. Mary Grace is one of the most loyal people that I know. Josh, you're a lucky man to have her. Rest assured, if you treat her right, she'll display the same amount of loyalty to you. She was at every single one of my baseball games growing up, rain or shine, despite the fact that I could not attend every one of her ballet recitals due to my extreme phobia of ballerinas. Plus, they were unbearable to a hyperactive outdoorsy kid. Don't tell her that. Don't try and laugh this off, Mary Grace, like you aren't deathly afraid of clowns. My phobia is not uncommon. Lots of people have it, or they just don't want to go. But thank you for that, for always being there. I could convince her back then to do anything, although clearly I couldn't convince her not to date until she was 30. Once I convinced her that it would be a great idea to ride our Fisher-Price cozy coupe down our big driveway. She was tucked inside safely. I jumped onto the roof of the moving vehicles. We started down the hill and quickly realized I'd underestimated the speed those little plastic wheels could garnish on the open road. So I jumped off. I'm not stupid. Leaving her trapped inside, ramping off the driveway, and flipping the vehicle deep into the woods. See, Dad, she was already a bad driver. I did think that maybe you weren't going to grow up to be smart. Boy, did you prove me wrong. But in my defense, you did call me IE until I was 3. You couldn't even say my name. Maybe even then you were smarter than I give you credit for, and it stood for something terrible. IE. Where'd you get IE? She quickly began to grow up and started to get too smart for her own good. So I tried to hang her. I made a small loop at the bottom of our tree fort because I wanted to see if I could make a working snare. What better test subject than my sister? She was about the size of a small raccoon anyway. It took 3 times to work properly. See loyalty at its finest, Josh. Long story short, it worked. She got a black tooth, and I lost my rope. I also did this because of the time you put super glue in my sambas and ruined them. I can't believe that tomorrow you'll be a married woman. I actually met Josh before Mary Grace did. Clearly, my decision to allow him to move on to an in-person interview with his soon-to-be bride worked out pretty well. If there are any single folks out there tonight, just know that my vetting service is coming at a premium. But they are solid. Mary Grace is also one of the most compassionate people I've ever met, as evidenced by the time she was powering toward the finish line in a cross-country race and stopped mid-race to help a friend that had fallen and helped her to the finish line. Dad and I were so mad. Looking back, I realized that you cared much more about others than yourself. I would have stepped on her back to make good and certain I beat her in that race. You may not have that competitive edge like Dad and I wanted for you, but you got so much more. You love unconditionally, which bodes well for you, Josh. I'm almost done. Just 5 more pages. Josh, MG is also highly committed to everything she starts. Even if it was as simple as searching relentlessly for the thimble at Mimi and Granddad's when we would play hide the thimble with Mimi Roof. You almost never won, but you never gave up. Or like the time we tried to set a record at Nana Papa's for the Guinness Book of World Records. We were going to stay in the pool longer than anyone in history ever had. Mom eventually crushed our dreams. So I knew it was getting serious when Mary Grace called me. She never calls me. And I remember her saying, "Please be serious for a minute. I need to tell you something." Okay, well, first of all, nothing good ever usually comes from starting a conversation that way. I remember her vividly saying, "I think Josh is the one." And I said, "Why?" Very short, why? I also distinctly remember that she said, "I think he is the one," so I knew there was still a chance. I needed to get to know this Josh character. There was still time to run him off. I threatened him a little subtly at first, then not so subtly when he came to Dad and me asking for her hand in marriage. But he was still here. I knew he must be the one. I remember how Mary Grace was when she got engaged to Josh, how happy she was. She was proud of the ring and even more proud of the man that would walk by her side for a lifetime. Mary Grace, are you really sure you thought about that last part? A lifetime. But enough about Mary Grace. Josh, I actually will admit to you now that I liked you from the start. Mostly because you laugh at my jokes. Don't ever lose that quality. You have such a positive outlook on life, which is actually kind of amazing for an Auburn fan. You knew I had to throw that in there at some point. You always look to help those around you with a can-do attitude. Take my advice. You will do well in your first year if you can keep that same attitude in regard to helping out around the house. Last page. I actually could not wish for a more solid man to protect and care for my sister. I'm proud to know that you'll be the one providing for her. Dad was getting a little bit tapped out anyway after this wedding. So I'm going to bring Erin up. I know she wanted to say a few words, and we'll finish up together. My plus one. Yes, we rehearsed.
So, Mary Grace and Josh, I'm so honored to be a part of your wedding this weekend. I remember I was at the library studying, and Mary Grace sent me a text message telling me she had a date with Josh, and she sent me a picture, and he
The
was...
library or the library in Oxford?
The library, the real one.
The real one.
And he was all decked out in his Auburn gear, and my first question was, do you think you can handle him being an Auburn fan? Well, looks like you have, because he's totally obsessed, and you're still here, and y'all are getting married. So I'm so glad that you found your best friend to do life with like I did. It makes life a lot easier to have your best friend as your biggest fan. And I'm just happy for y'all to start your new life together.
All right. So to Josh and Mary Grace, we wish you a lifetime of fantastic memories together. To Mary Grace, I could not have asked for a better little sister to have by my side while we tried to figure out the first chapters of our lives. And you couldn't have found a better guy to finish out the rest of it with. To Josh, I always wanted a brother anyway. I love you both. Mom did make me say that. And remember that IE is always here for you. Cheers to you both.
Hey, okay. I'm Mary Lane, Mary Grace's maid of honor and favorite cousin. Mary Lane Graham. I was born when Mary Grace was in high school, and she was always there for me as my big sister. This was great because she drove me everywhere, literally everywhere, and many, many, many times I left the house without shoes on. I remember talking to my mom one day when I was younger and telling her I hated when Mary Grace had boyfriends because I always would get jealous of her spending time with them instead of me. But when Josh came along, I didn't mind sharing her because I knew he was the one and fit in like a glove into our crazy family. I love you both, and I wish you good luck at the Iron Bowl this year.
No card for me, so I'm not reading off anything. I'm Garrett. I am also Mary Grace's cousin, Garrett Graham. And like Mary Grace followed around Evans, Mary Grace was 6 or 7 years older than me, and so I got to follow her around. Living so close, even at one time living together, we were really close. And I couldn't have asked for someone better to follow in their footsteps. And, sorry. Mary Grace, you are honestly one of the most sweethearted, loving people ever. And I have absolutely cherished my time of growing up behind you. And Josh, if you cherish your time with her half as much as I have with her, and you'll have a happy life. And so I wish you guys the best of luck.
Hi, if you don't know me, my name is Brittany Fields Isles, and I've known Mary Grace for 20 plus years, which is weird to say. I already trying not to cry. Okay, sorry y'all. So when me and Mary Grace were little, we had really, really cute stories. We have really cute memories. Being pioneer girls, we made a beanbag that was like Briarwood's version of Girl Scouts. So we did that for a year, and that's where we met. In second grade, we did Pin the Nose of Miss Gillen at my birthday party, our second grade teacher. In third grade, we had times where we decided we were going to pile the leaves up in front of my slide and slide down into them over and over. And even though we felt like we were far too old to be doing that, we jumped on the trampoline and the pogo stick. And then later, We had some kind of dorky memories and stories too. We used to, okay, get ready. I have this ready for you. So we used to, as a fifth or sixth grader, so we used to take like big exercise balls and just ram into each other at full speed, singing a funny song. Meanwhile, we used to be really ridiculous and weird, and would make up funny songs with each other in the hallway in school. We'd whisper these weird songs to each other that no one else understood, and we were just weird kids. Singing songs about Disney princesses and all kinds of different things. And then, of course, I promised you this was going to be in here, and it is. And then finally, around the 7th grade, far too old to be doing things like this, we had a project where we had to do a project about the Singer sewing machine. And we didn't want to do the project. We wanted to go outside and hang out and talk in the front yard. And so we decided, let's just make it up, and we'll just say, which we did the project properly, don't worry, like we got good grades on it, but we just said, let's just make it up, and we'll just say that the first sewing machine had a pull cord. And so her parents pulled into the driveway of us going in the driveway like crazy people, running around, and again, far too old to be acting silly and goofy. So then later we got mature and cool and went to college and went to Alabama, Roll Tide. So much to Lane's dismay, she's crying. My family, Greg's cheering. We're all excited. So we went to Alabama together. And I remember we sat on Tutwiler's floor, and our parents had just left. Everyone had teary goodbyes, and we looked at each other. We both almost said at the same time, like, "What now? What are we gonna do? Like, do we make food or something? So we lived our lives together. We dealt with problems together. We did our classes together. From pretty much 2nd grade all the way through college, we had classes together. We helped each other out, and we asked each other questions, and we, held each other through things. We dated and broke it up with together, and we had friendships that went really well and not so much. But through all those things, we were together, and we held each other and strong through those times, and even now we call each other pretty much once a week to talk about traffic or something, to talk about like whatever we did that day. We both became teachers, so of course we rejoiced and complained together, like, can you believe when these kids don't, or, oh my gosh, this happened. We share these little bitty things together, even just all through these 20 plus years. And so what's just so amazing, just through the time that God's just pushed and allowed our friendship to grow, and for us to see. She stood by my side a few years ago when I got married to my husband, and that's just such a special thing. I'm just so honored that I get to be here. I'm not gonna cry, okay? But I'm just so honored to stand by her tomorrow, and since we just done life from pretty much day one all the way through, and now here we are. And these are the moments that you save things, because I have here with me, there's just a few little things. I'll just hold them up all at once, really, but necklaces we made that have, this one says Ashley, because we were obsessed with Mary Kate and Ashley when we were little. So obsessed, like it was really funny on the playground. Necklaces we made like just at each other's houses. I have here one that we have that I think we bought probably at Briarwood Christmas Shop or something like that had our names on it. I have one that the little half heart necklace that every 9-year-old girl had, and every girl had one, but me and Mary Grace, it was just for us. So, and I have my little jewelry box size. I found this at my parents' house, and I was like, I'm going to bring this and show. But these are the moments that you save all these things for over the years, that you get to stand up 20 plus years later and say, you know, do you remember? And now, Josh, you are going to make beautiful memories together. You are going to, she's one of my best and closest and longest friendships I've ever had. And that's what you guys have now. You're going to pour your souls into each other and back. And you're going to travel and do things, experience things, but then you're also going to make dinner and do dishes and stuff and go to the grocery store together and it's just, and you've got now, or it's your turn to do life with her. And I'm just so grateful and thankful for your friendship. And I pray that tomorrow's going to be beautiful and that the rest of your lives are going to be beautiful. I love you.
Hey everybody. My name's Tanner Harris. Family's here. My lovely wife Tori there in the back. Really, really excited about this weekend and about tomorrow. I met Josh about the same time my brother did, about 8th, 9th grade. And when we met, I don't know how more different we could have been, honestly. We did not like the same things. Josh was really like, hey man, I'm going to beat you up. But, you know, we just clicked. We just started hanging out. And then it seemed like every day in the summer, Josh was at our house. And some of my favorite memories was just being there doing nothing, honestly. Just hanging out, you know, building friendships. And I can't say how proud I am of him today. I mean, I'll echo what some of my family said. You've come a long way, and you're doing so well for yourself. And I'm so happy that you're with Mary Grace. When Tori and I first met Mary Grace, we went out to eat with them and got in the car, and I said, I like her. I like her a lot. He did really well. So Mary Grace, we're glad to know you as a new friend. We're excited to build our relationship with each other. And Mr. and Miss Smith, you have a really great son-in-law, great addition to your family. But Josh, I can't say how thankful I am for you to have you as a friend and as a brother. If anything else I can say about him is that he's a very loyal friend. Growing up, he came to every single one of my basketball games. He was always there for me. Have car trouble on the side of the road, call Josh. He'd be there in a heartbeat. He never put anybody else above us. He was there for us all the time. So I thank you for that. And Mary Grace, if he's half as loyal to you as he has been to us, then you're going to be in good hands. But we love you guys. We love both of you. So that's it.
And speaking of car trouble, there was one baseball game where Alabama was playing Mississippi State. I was still in high school. I don't know. Hunter was a freshman. Tanner was still in high school. And Josh went with us, and he's an Auburn fan, so I don't know why he'd go to Tuscaloosa, but he really wanted to go. Now, after about the third inning, it's pouring down rain, and eventually the game gets rained out, and we just have to go back to our car. I don't remember where we parked, but might have been driving down the road for maybe 5 minutes, and my dad's windshield wipers quit, and it's a monsoon outside, literally in Tuscaloosa, so we're not really sure where to go. We can't see ahead of us, and somehow we were lucky to find a deck nearby. And thank goodness Joshua was us, because he was able to kind of redo the windshield wipers somehow to where they worked enough to where we got to my brother's dorm on campus. And then thankfully the next morning when we left on Saturday, we were able to use some Rain-X to shield the rain that eventually came, but we were able to see. So just adding on to what he said earlier, I remember that very vividly. Growing up with two brothers, obviously, and Josh, he's been like another brother to me in terms of how loyal he's been to our family and what he's meant to us. I remember, it was a Relay for Life event, me, him, and
his brother and a few of us were dressed up to raise money for Relay for Life, except we're dressed for a womanless beauty pageant. And Josh, of all things, is dressed in like the cowgirl hat, the long blonde hair, like a Daisy Dukes, like even the shorts, like just full Daisy Dukes. And his name was Josie. My name was Katarina. I don't know who else was in it, but that was a really fun night. Which, of course, he got second place. And me, and me and about 5 other people who participated didn't win. We got a plastic cup, so it's a good participation prize. Just being here, I think it's awesome that 2 people led by God to join each other in marriage. It is a miracle. I believe that miracles still happen today, and part of those miracles is y'all 2 joined together. And I would say that I don't think I mentioned anything to anybody on the way here, but it's probably a miracle that I'm even standing right here in front of you. I'm driving down, my GPS took me down the Clanton Lake Dam exit before I'd hit 228 originally. And then off of Clanton Lake Dam Road, turning right, it told me to turn left on County Road 47. It's about 4 o'clock, 4:10. Both my brothers had been in a wreck before, and even though I wasn't around them when it first happened, it was pretty traumatizing to me just hear about that. And it was even more traumatizing for me myself today to be in my car very close to striking a tree. I might have been going like 60 and a 40. I didn't want to show up late, and I was on time to get here about 5 o'clock, which I did. And of course, nobody else was here when I showed up in the chapel, but it's a nice facility, so I got to check it out, tour the place a little bit, and thankfully Josh finally showed up, so I had somebody to talk to. But it's a nice place. When I pull up to the gate, the security guard probably doesn't recognize who I am. I'm like, I'm here for a wedding. He's like, oh, the Smith Corbett wedding. I was like, oh, okay. Well, it's at the chapel. I was like, where is that? And he eventually told me where it was. He called it was Town Hall, and then eventually I was going to go straight to the clubhouse, but thankfully I wasn't directed in the wrong direction. But yeah, even when I got here, going about 60 and a 40, and very sharp left turn, probably the sharpest turn I've ever come across, and I guess my car's about to veer off a little left off the road, and eventually I start to veer to the right. If there were trees along the road, right upside, I'm not sure how it would have turned out otherwise. Thankfully, it's a miracle that nobody else was close behind me on my side of the road when I eventually veered off to that side again. It's a miracle that the ground was smooth and it was grassy. And it's a miracle that God was in control of when I was behind the wheel, eventually coming to a stopping point in that grassy field area. So, again, I believe it's a very strong miracle that I'm even here. And I believe I was meant to be here to join y'all's celebration. And, again, with God, what is impossible? And I think sometimes we just have a wake-up call in our lives. Storms may come, and I feel like I had one today. And it kind of reminded me to kind of just, when you're not really sure where you're going in life or what to do, what's your next step when you've lost a job or you've lost a relative or somebody, just to be at peace with yourself, to be at peace with God, and to just take a breath and slow down and realize why you're where you're at for a reason. And Josh, I don't really know Mary Grace too well, but she seems nice, and y'all seem like a really good pair together. And I really enjoy getting to know her family and uncle, and at y'all's house, hanging out, eating burgers. It was a really good time, and I'm looking forward to a really good celebration tomorrow. And I feel like everything that's meant to be, it's all biblical, and God put us here for a reason, and I wish you the best. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name's Maria. I'm wearing an Apple Watch. My heart rate is currently like 114, so I'm a little bit nervous. But Mary Grace, I was trying to think of like my favorite memory with you. And there were a lot of like remember that time wins with you, from like choir tour to super summer, which was hands down my favorite job ever. I like being a nurse, but nothing compares to being super summer counselors. But I think my favorite memory sadly involves Tuscaloosa, but me and you went to Tuscaloosa to see the Backstreet Boys concert. And we sang every single lyric of every single song, because you know me and you know every single lyric to all those songs. And then I remember you went on your first date with Josh, and I got a picture of you, and Josh was wearing an Auburn shirt, and I was like, I think I like this guy. And then Josh, I remember the first time I met you, it was at Mary Grace's house for a game night, and we were playing the Game of Things, I think, and there was a question that was like, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you travel? And Josh's answer was Auburn University. I don't think Mary Grace liked that answer very much, but I personally really liked it, War Eagle. But anyways, I'm really honored to be a part of y'all's day, and I'm excited for tomorrow. I'm glad that the countdown to Corbett is finally here. So cheers to Mary Grace and Josh.
I'm Aunt Juanita, and coming here this evening, I had no intentions of doing this, but it is my privilege and honor to be able to say just a few words. I've known Mary Grace, of course, since she was tiny, and I met Josh just a few years ago, but I love you both, and with God in the center of your lives, I know you're going to have very many, many happy years together. And I love this family. They're very dear and special to me. And Nana was my sister. And we miss her tonight, but I know that her love is with all of us. And I am so honored and privileged to be here and be a part of this celebration. Okay, I'm Lynn, but I'm Cookie to these kids. I don't need a last name. After Evans was born and was my pride and joy, I never thought my heart had enough love to share with another baby. Then God smiled.
Can I get that in writing?
Yeah. Then God smiled on Lane and Greg with a barely holding my one hand and arm, tiny little Mary Grace, named after her two grandmothers, Mary Neal and Evelyn Grace. These two women shared taking care of Lane so that this little miracle would grow and make it to term. Well, she did, and she came into this world like a firecracker. She was a fighter and was trying to prove she wasn't going anywhere. I guarded my heart, pouring my love and affection into Evans, truly thinking that this little girl wouldn't make it very long without eating and holding down more than she did. She grew strong in stature and love and came to worship her big brother, chasing him screaming, "I-E, I-E." My name for her became Little Spider Monkey, and my heart completely filled a void I never knew was there. Ed and I lived away, but traveled home, and they traveled wherever we were, living on the globe at the time. The bonds we made through amazing memories. The bonds we made through amazing memories started our hunger to have our own children. Mary Grace was at the crib side when we adopted Garrett, and there to welcome another Mary into the fold as Mary Lane completed our family. I never had to wonder when Mary Grace babysat or took my children anywhere that she wouldn't be their practically perfect Mary Poppins. As much as Ed and I tried to brainwash Mary Grace to love Auburn,
Her hero brother and dad convinced her to follow in their footsteps. Sad face. You know, when you're a second mom and an aunt, you get to bend a few rules and have a ton of fun. Mary Grace and I have painted many towns red together. New York, London, Paris, Washington, D.C., Sao Paulo, Rio, Maui, to name a few. We have eaten our way through amazing restaurants, street fairs, and markets, and we have boogied to the same songs for years. I watched her grow and mature and date some possible candidates, but could see her love for Jesus was stronger and she was relying on his best. I too then had to realize God was saving her his T-bone steak, and she had only been snacking on bologna. Well, God answered our prayers, and not only did he give Mary Grace a precious God-fearing man who loved her, but he was an Auburn boy to boot. Josh, you complete our special princess, and we look forward to sharing your future. I love you.
Hi everyone, I'm Kit. I'm one of Mary Grace's bridesmaids. I'm also have my notes on my iPhone. So I had met Mary Grace slightly prior to going on a mission trip to Bristol, England, but I've only known her for about 4 years. That's when that trip was. Our friendship really began on that journey. She sat next to me on the bus early on in the trip on one of our excursions, and we quickly realized we had the same personality and we're hitting it off, and pretty much spent the rest of the trip with each other, and spent a whole day in London just goofing off and having fun and everything. And ever since then, it's been one of my best friends. She's someone I can call, during 5 o'clock traffic on the way home from work, and we just chat about our day and everything. But I can honestly say I'm very thankful for your friendship. You're funny and kind and very lovely person. And you put up with my Auburnness, so I knew when Josh was an Auburn fan that you'd be just fine, actually. I was a little worried about the Iron Bowl, but you made it, and so that's awesome. And Josh, you are a perfect counterpart to Mary Grace, because you're always so supportive of her, and you make her smile, and she's just so excited about that first date and everything. I remember her talking about it. Yes, and I see how it's so sweet how you love and take care of Mary Grace, and how you're going to be doing that forever. And so I'm so excited for both of y'all for tomorrow, and that I can't wait. Okay, thank you.
I'm going to be very brief. There is a rumor that Josh is my son. I'm not quite sure where that came from. So, those two? Yes. I'm known as Fake Dad. So, anyway, I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that wasn't true. But, on a better note, y'all are going to have a great day tomorrow, right? It's going to be a fantastic day, and we are so happy for both of you. So hear. Cheers.
Hey, I'm Laura. I'm one of Mary Grace's bridesmaids. I've known Mary Grace about as long as Kit has. We met at Bristol and pretty much became fast friends since then. We've pretty much done everything together. We've been to Washington, been to England, New York together, and she's been such a great friend to have. She's the first person I call after my long days of work, and we always hang out every Saturday. It's just been so amazing to have her as a loyal friend. I also remember when she met Josh. I remember her telling about the first date and how he had that Auburn sweater and was really obnoxious. So Roll Tide, I'm a big Alabama fan as well, and So I just really enjoyed getting to know Josh more and more, and just really valued how he cared for Mary Grace. And I've just been praying for y'all since you started dating, that you would grow to love each other, and that today would be a very special day for y'all, and as well as tomorrow. And so I'm just so excited to be here, and congrats to both of you.
Josh, you had me at War Eagle. No, I'm just kidding. I do want to share one little anecdote, or one little thing that happened when, first of all, I sent Mary Grace a picture a few weeks ago, several weeks ago, in fact, because we have been walking buddies for a while. And there was a place at Veterans Park where we would stop and pray at the end of our time walking. And at this point, she hadn't met Josh. And we were just praying about who she would marry. And it's so fun to see how God answered. Such a sweet treat. But on one particular occasion, Josh and Mary Grace and Larry and I had gone to the Alabama Theater to meet the Haskews and the Smiths to see White Christmas. And they were in the back seat of the car, and I just noticed the deep respect that Josh gave to Mary Grace, and that because she was so deserving in my mind, and I'm right on that. And I just loved that, and I knew then you really were the one, and I'm so grateful. And I just want to say, continue to treat her that way, continue to be deserving of that, and keep your focus on Christ. For by focusing on Him, you'll never lose sight of each other. And I love you both very much.
Hi, I'm Lori, and I'm the mom of the Harris guys back there. And briefly, I just want to say how thrilled I am to be here tonight. Josh, thank you so much for inviting us to come to the dinner. It's just a great honor, and we enjoy these moments in your life. I met Josh and his brother, Wade, out in the church parking lot for the first time. They had backed up and hit someone. And I asked if they wanted me to call the police. They said, no. Yeah, but anyway, it was a great time. They were at our home a lot, and it was like 5 boys instead of 3, and I was so proud of my boys. They just and them too. They just always bonded, and there were 5 for Alabama and 1 for Auburn, and or was it 5? I can't count right. Anyway, he was just very obnoxiously Auburn, but it was all good. We had lots of pizza together, and lots of cookie dough, and lots of cookies, and a lot of good times. And one thing that stands out in my mind, I was telling Hunter back there a while ago, is Jeremy here, who's doing the ceremony, is the youth pastor at our church, and he has shepherded all these guys. And God has just really used him. And we used to have these, what do you call them, guys, on a Sunday night, the thing after church? First priority. Yeah, and I just happened to notice one time, because Josh, they were saying, you've come a long way. Hopefully we've all come a long way. Hopefully God has grown us, each of us, and all that. But I've seen him in his silly times and his whatever times, and this girl like that girl, all these times. But I saw him at a serious moment one time in the praise and worship. I looked over, and it was right when that "Oh No, You Never Let Go" song had just come out. Seemed like to me. But I looked over there, and he was just all into it. So every time I heard that song on the radio, I thought of Josh. And I thought, that's right, man, you hang on to God. And God never lets go of us. He wants us in His grasp at all times. And that's what I think of when I think of you, Josh, because I know there's been a lot of sadness even. Josh had a brother, that Wade, who was, he's younger than you. But it seemed like to me that Wade kind of looked after Josh a lot. But at Wade's celebration, because he was such a godly young man himself. Josh really he just stood up and he was the man. And I just saw something come out of him that night that I'd never seen before. And I was really proud of that, but I'm proud of you, period. You know, we all, I think, I can speak for most of us, it seems like this is a room full of believers. And I'm so grateful to be in a room full of believers. And I'm so grateful to a God who looks on us and loves us no matter what we go through, and the ups and the downs and the being close to Him or walking away from Him at times. He loves us and He pursues us. And I just thank you for this time together, because I want to say to y'all, just love God first. Keep your eyes that way, and your love's just going to grow and grow and grow. If your love is focused on the Lord Jesus first, because He's the one that helps us love best. And when we, I guess I better stop because I'll start rambling more. I just want to say that. And I guess that's it. And if you want to be treated like a queen, you can crown your husband king. And you treat her like a queen always. Okay, Josh. I love you. I love you, Mary Grace.
I had prepared something for tonight, but after hearing... Do what?
Did Lane make you write that?
No. Lane did not make me write this, but she did proofread it. But honestly, tonight, it's not about me. It's not about Mary Grace. It's about the one true King. Just the love that's been displayed tonight through everybody's kind words, through the kind actions that made all of this happen. On behalf of Mary Grace and myself, we thank you, each and every one of you that had a part in playing tonight, whether it was giving a speech, playing the part of a groomsman, bridesmaid, putting together the dinner, whatever you had. It was not so minute that it does not go by unseen. We appreciate each and every one of you in this room. Now, I said I wasn't going to cry, but it happened. Growing up, I had my Mima, Papa, my brother, and my mom. It was us five, and that's all I had in my life. Through the course of life, as Miss Lori was saying, I lost my granddad. I lost my brother in 2015. That's when my life took a dramatic change, and I got my life right. And it wasn't until then that I started realizing that God was not going to give me anyone until I got my relationship with Him right. And I can honestly say, Mary Grace, you are truly an answered prayer to me. You and your family. Y'all have welcomed me with open arms from day one. Greg, I know we like to cut up, play golf together, but you're the dad I never had. Evans, hanging out with you is like hanging out with Wade all over again. Cookie, Ed, fake mom, fake dad. You support me in everything that I do. Whether it's the right decision or the wrong decision, it doesn't matter. You're there to help out in a time of need, and I thank you for that. Mimi and Granddad, your prayers, just the support that you've shown us over the past year and a half, it's been so grateful. Just the prayers for me to find a job and watching God work His way, put His hand in everything, and eventually landing that job. Thank you for your love and support and for everything you do. And I could honestly say I'm marrying my best friend tomorrow. Thank y'all all for coming out, supporting us. Remember that your mug with your name on it is yours to keep. Y'all have fun. See y'all tomorrow.